dead. Hang on. What is going on, guys? So today we're back with another deep dive, and today we're actually looking into one of the coolest Pokemon to ever be introduced into the universe. I'm a huge fan of Onix, and Onix was like the original snekboi for me. I don't know why I liked him so much. Screw you Ekans and screw you Arbok, because Onix was cool. And it was even cooler whenever he got a freaking evolution. So we'll be talking about Steelix today, who is a steel and ground type Pokemon, maxing out at 2414, which makes him an awesome candidate for the Ultra League. But we're going to be talking about the Great League, and to maximize your stat product in the Great League, you would need a 0 on attack, 14 defense, and 15 stamina at level 24, which actually does yield you a clean 1500, which is always really nice. Now, inside the Sinister Cup itself, we rank all of the Pokemon, every single person, every single Pokemon, every single... we end up getting 6th in bulk for Steelix and 5th in stat product, which is actually extremely impressive. I have to say that's pretty freaking awesome. Now, all of that, of course, does come from our base stats here with a 148 on attack, 272, yes, 272 on the defense, and a 181 in stamina. So, ideal stat spread there for PvP, of course, maximizing that TDO by having tons of defense and tons of stamina, having a low attack. Always, always welcome. Moving on to our moves, this is kind of a spicy topic at the moment, I guess you could say. We do have 3 different fast moves here: Iron Tail, Dragon Tail, and then we do have Thunder Fang, which is the newly added move to Steelix here. And there seems to be some discrepancy on which one is better out of those 3. Well, I can already tell you, Iron Tail, we're just going to kind of slide that one out of the way here. 2 energy per turn, holy cow is that low, for 3 damage per turn. 3.6 after stab. It is our only stab candidate, I'll give it that, so it is decent for that, but it's not our highest energy gain, and it's definitely not our highest damage output even after stab. So let's actually just forget about Iron Tail for now. Let's talk about Dragon Tail and Thunder Fang. So Dragon Tail is going to be 3 1/3 energy per turn for 3 damage per turn. Now, of course, we don't carry the Dragon typing, so no kind of stab benefits. Thunder Fang at 2.5 energy per turn, we get a whopping 4 damage per turn, which is pretty gnarly. I have to say, that's actually really, really nice. So out of those 2, here's kind of what you have to debate here. Do we really want energy and sacrifice a little bit of damage with Dragon Tail, or do we sacrifice our energy for a little bit more damage with Thunder Fang? Well, I'm going to answer that question here in just a second. Moving on to our charge moves, we do have Earthquake, Heavy Slam, and Crunch. Now, out of those 3, there are some pretty key ones in the Sinister Cup itself. Mainly, Crunch is going to be a pretty big one. Being able to target the Ghost, being able to target the Psychics, that makes it pretty freaking sweet. But then it kind of comes down to Heavy Slam or Earthquake. And honestly, it just kind of depends on how you want to play it. PvPoke really suggests that we go with Earthquake rather than Heavy Slam, but I could actually see a use case for Heavy Slam if you wanted this like speed demon kind of build on your Steelix. But if you run Steelix without Earthquake, it's just weird. It's just kind of awkward for me. So I definitely recommend Crunch and Earthquake. I think that's the best solid moveset that you can have, just because Crunch is going to help do a ton of damage in this cup alone, and then Earthquake is going to be that big finishing move as is. But before we move on, let's actually go over some numbers here. Earthquake is 65 energy to fire for 120 damage and a 1.85 damage per energy ratio. After stab, yes, we are the ground type. It does get 144 on the damage and a 2.22 on the damage per energy ratio. pretty sweet. Heavy Slam for 50 energy. That's why I was saying maybe a little bit speedy on the Heavy Slam there. It does have 70 damage for a 1.4 on the damage per energy ratio. After stab though, it does get bumped up to 84 for a 1.68 on the damage per energy ratio. Pretty nice. And last but not least, Crunch for only 45 energy. We do get 70 damage, which is a 1.56 on the damage per energy ratio. Of course, we do not carry any kind of dark type, so no stab benefits there. Back to our simulations, trying to decide between Dragon Tail and Thunderfang. What I did is I took basically Dragon Tail, Earthquake, and Crunch, and I ran all of the shielding scenarios for the entire cup and all of the shielding scenarios for the entire meta. Then I took all of the shielding scenarios for Thunderfang, Earthquake, and Crunch, and ran all of those for the entire cup, and then all of those for the entire meta. So what we end up finding out here, and I'm sure it'll be either this side or this side. Starting out with the entire cup, if we look at Dragon Tail just versus Thunderfang, so we're only looking at the entire cup here, not taking into account the meta, all of the preferred movesets for the meta. We're doing auto-generated movesets for everything in the entire cup. For Dragon Tail, we end up with a 67.7% in the 0 versus 0, so no shields whatsoever. 67.7 for Dragon Tail, 65.6 for Thunderfang. So we got to give our point to Dragon Tail. Next, in the 2 versus 0, a whopping hundo for both. We actually have a 100% win ratio for Dragon Tail and for Thunderfang. So looking pretty good. Then in our 0 versus 2, we actually have a 16.1% and a 12.9% respectively for Dragon Tail and Thunderfang. So Dragon Tail is doing a little bit better there. Next, we actually move into the 2 versus 2. So if we're kind of like opening, I guess, 53.8 for Dragon Tail and a 61.3 for Thunderfang. So we do have to give some points over to Thunderfang there. Now, if we actually take and we average all of those numbers together, this is extremely close. So if you're just looking for, like, in general, how well does each move perform across multiple shield situations? 59.4 for Dragon Tail and a 59.95 for Thunderfang. So I'd say Thunderfang barely inches out if you talk about just averaging out all of your shield scenarios, just kind of how well you do across those. And okay, barely beating the Dragon Tail there. But if we actually switch gears into the meta side of things, if we actually take a look at the 26 meta-defined Pokemon and their predefined movesets and all that good stuff, we actually pit Dragon Tail and Thunderfang up against each other yet again. We actually start off with our 0 versus 0, and we have a 73.1% for Dragon Tail. So that's even higher than it was for the entire cup, which is nice. Thunderfang though also goes up, but not quite as high, a 29.2%. So we do have to give some edge to Dragon Tail so far. Next, in the 1 versus 0, we don't hit that hundo unfortunately, but we do come really close. An 80.8 with Dragon Tail and a 92.3 with Thunderfang. Holy cow, gotta give the point to Thunderfang there. Next, we have a 0 versus 1, which is an 80.8, correction, 30.8, I can't read my own handwriting, and a 26.9 respectively for Dragon Tail and then for Thunderfang. So, gotta give more points to Dragon Tail there. Last but not least, in the 1 versus 1, which we're actually gonna take a little bit of a dive into here in a second, we actually end up with a 57.7 on Dragon Tail and a clean 50 on Thunderfang. So, what that actually ends up telling us is, 1, Thunderfang barely did better up against the entire cup, but if you average everything out for the entire meta, a 60.6 for Dragon Tail, while Thunderfang only hits 47.68. So, Dragon Tail is actually going to be better in a lot of ways than Thunderfang, but there's a catch to that. As usual, if both movesets are being considered, there's usually a good reason, and we will kind of get into that. But just for the purposes of this video, for the rest of the simulations and what we talk about, remember we are going to be rolling with Dragon Tail since it does have a higher win ratio across multiple shield scenarios. And then Earthquake, and then Crunch, okay? Gotcha. So now let's actually take a look at a couple of our matches here. So if we take a look at that 1v1 shield scenario just up against the meta, and we break down all of the Pokemon wins and losses, and we set them side by side. In terms of the win column, we do have Probopass, Alolan Raichu, Girafarig, Gardevoir, Bastiodon, Hex, Alolan Marowak, Cresselia, Mawile, Bronzong, Hex, Dusclops, Drifblim, Lugia, Firespin, Alolan Marowak, Claydol, and Banette. Whew. In terms of our losses though, we do actually tie up against ourselves for what it's worth, but we do lose up against the Bubble Power-Up Punch Poliwrath. We do lose up against the Thunderfang Steelix. See, you kind of see where I'm going here. Gallade we do lose up against. Feint Attack Dusclops, Empoleon, Power-Up Punch Medicham, and Dynamic Punch Powercham. Medicham we also lose up against. Haunter, Mudshot, Power-Up Punch Poliwrath, and last but not least, the Bubble Dynamic Punch Poliwrath. We do lose up against all three variants of Poliwrath, both variants of Medicham, so it's kind of looking kind of nasty already. It's actually pretty solid if you think about it. The things that really beat us have some sort of way to get into our weakness. They're sliding into our weaknesses DMs, and they're getting the sweet deets, and they're just racking up some points, just whatever they do in the DMs these days, I don't know, I'm not in them. If we take a look at each one of the typings that we actually lose up against. So if we look at all the ghosts that we actually lose up against, we only have two here, which is actually really nice. Feint Attack, Dusclops, and Haunter. And that's it. Like, that's actually not that bad. The ghosts, pretty solid. Psychic types, we do lose up against Gallade, Power-Up Punch Medicham, and Dynamic Punch Medicham, so mainly just a bunch of fighters that are also considered psychic. And then we do have all of the Poliwrath variants in the fighting type, Gallade, and of course both Medichams as well. So the fighting types, as you can imagine, there's going to be a lot of problem there. That's kind of what you want to really avoid with all of your steel types, but you know, you just remember that for Steelix too, no big deal. And then inside the steel types, we actually lose up against ourselves if they're running the Thunderfang variant. So that's actually the catch to running Dragon Tail. Yes, Dragon Tail is probably going to perform better up against a wide spread of the meta, but Thunderfang is actually going to end up beating the one that does better up against the rest of the things. So kind of depends on which way you want to run it. If you want to run an anti-meta, oh, this is going to be interesting. An anti-meta Steelix would kind of be the Dragon Tail one, right? Because he beats more of the meta. But if you want to run an anti-meta, then you kind of want to go with that Steelix. It just really depends on which way you want to run Steelix. But we also do have in the steel category a loss up against Empoleon, so you know, what are you going to do with the penguin? So that is actually going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. Thanks so much for watching. Steelix, like I said, is my boy, one of my faves. We also did get some word on the Ferocious Cup last night. By the time you guys are seeing this, it would have been, yeah, around 12 hours ago. So that's actually coming. They haven't announced any crazy details, just kind of the name of it and pre-order for, you know, all of the badges and the pins and the stickers or whatever they do. So that's actually cool, something to look forward to. We should be getting news on that next Friday. If my dates line up, we should have a pretty good time announcing that on time this time. We're not gonna like screw around or do anything stupid, but yeah, so sounds good. Thank you guys again for hanging out. Always remember the Discord link is down in the description below. I need you guys to vote for deep dives if you want to. There are plenty of votes already, but you know, the more the merrier. I can't never deny that. So that is actually going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you so much for watching. Until the next video, I'm gonna get back to trimming my bushes. Bye. Thank you guys so much for watching. Always remember that if you like to like videos, you could do that, but if you don't, you could be that guy. Otherwise, let me know what you have to say down in the comments below about the video. I do highly appreciate you guys watching. If you guys want to support me in any way, there are several links down in the description for Patreon, joining the community here on YouTube, or even just directly PayPal if that's your thing. I greatly appreciate everyone's name that's on screen, as you guys have showed some sort of support outside of just viewing the videos, and I thank you guys. You don't understand from the bottom of my heart. So until our next video, guys, I will catch you then.